One.
Hi guys, Rob Curtis from CyMet once again, here to talk about this time some racing. We are putting on the first race of the year here in Illinois for road for 2018, bringing the Spring Super Crit, which is occurring this upcoming Sunday. And every year around this time, we usually get a few new inquiries, people that are new to racing that really don't know the ins and outs of what it takes to get into a race or what they should do at the race, what have you. And there really aren't a lot of good resources out there, in my opinion, that help explain everything. So what I thought I'd do is take a few minutes to explain as much as I could about what the first race experience should be or what you should know if you're going into your first race. First off, you're going to have to figure out what races are in your area or what races you can attend. And you can do that by going to whatever the sanctioning body for races in your area tends to be. For the most part, across the entire United States, we have what we call USA Cycling. USA Cycling is the sanctioning body that sanctions most of the sport and is in charge of the Olympic aspect of cycling here in the United States. There are other organizations that are sanctioning bodies, and they are more popular in certain pockets in certain areas. ABR, American Bicycle Racing, used to be extremely popular here in Illinois, but mostly that's kind of aged out, and there aren't as many races sanctioned under that administration anymore. But learn what's popular in your area. I'm going to talk to everybody as though they're here in Illinois and they're racing in Illinois, in the Chicago area, or what have you. Most of the Midwest is the same. So here in Illinois, we use mostly USA Cycling. So you can go to the USA Cycling website at usacycling.org, and you can use that website to try to find races in your area. Also, every area within the United States, as a part of USA Cycling, has a local administration or a local association. Here in Illinois, we call that the Illinois Cycling Association, or the ICA. The ICA is just only the local branch of USA Cycling, so it's acting on behalf of USA Cycling for members that are located in Illinois specifically. There will be a different administration for wherever you live. You just have to look it up on the website and they'll tell you. But our ICA does have an individual website as well too, where you can look at a calendar and see what races are scheduled in the Illinois area for USA Cycling. Once you've discovered a race, you're going to see a flyer for that race. Right here is an example of the flyer that we've got for this upcoming Sunday. Now, if you've never seen a flyer before, it looks like a lot of mumbo jumbo. In essence, what you're going to see is a listing of what we call a category, and you're going to see a start time. You also see race length, field limit, pre-reg fee, event fee, prize list. All that information is included on the flyer. In essence, what you need to know is you need to know what these categories mean. And categories are broken down by three factors. Do it like that, three factors. Basically, you have an actual category, you have an age, and you also have a presenting gender. So let's start with category. In racing, we start with category 5. Every racer, whenever they start racing, is a category 5 racer, regardless of what experience level you have. Well, not necessarily experience level, but your fitness. It says nothing to anybody other than the fact that you have not raced and or are not familiar with racing enough to be able to be at a different category level. So everybody starts as a category 5, whether you're a woman, a man, whether you're, somebody who's been a pro triathlete for 20 years or somebody who just got off the couch 3 weeks ago. You will start as a category 5 racer. As such, obviously there's a large discrepancy in ability within the category 5 field. But the purpose of being in a category 5 field is to learn. It's an experience category. So you're supposed to learn how to register for a race, how to put on a number correctly, how to know how long your race is, what the bell means, how to get your number, that you can follow the rules, that you can conduct yourself within a race and within a group in a safe manner according to the rules. So that's the purpose of Category 5, is to learn about cycling. Once you have completed, as of right now, once you've completed 10 races as a Category 5 racer, you're allowed to then apply for an upgrade to a Category 4. Obviously, the categories then go up from there. So we go from 5 to 4 to 3 to 2 to 1. The highest you can get as an amateur is a Category 1. That is what we typically consider at the local level to be like a local pro. Although they are technically not pros, they are the highest level racer at the amateur level. There are a lot of teams that look like pro teams at the local level that are actually just Category 1 teams, Category 1A or Category 1-2 teams. The only way that you become an actual pro is if you have a professional license and are on a team that paid money to be a professional team. Sometimes money is the only difference there, but it is a distinction. So there are professional teams and there are Category 1 teams. But this is your first race, so no one cares about that. We care about Category 5. That's what you are. You are a Cat 5. No point in discussing it, no point in debating it. You're a Cat 5. So once we know that you're a Cat 5, we need to look at other considerations. The next major category within the category delineation is your age. There are 3 different age qualifiers that we use in cycling. We use juniors, we use elite, and we use masters. Now those terms, elite and masters, are really stupid terms. They're terms that some people attribute to ability. They don't have anything to do with ability whatsoever. They only describe age. So if you're a junior racer, you're a racer that is between the ages of 9 and 18. If we say it's elite, that means there's no age qualifier at all. You can be between the ages of 9 and however old you want to be, and then you're an elite racer. If you're a masters racer, that can vary depending on what it is, but it means that there's a minimum age to enter that race. So a masters 30 plus means that you have to be at least 30 years old in race age to participate in that race. We can put an age qualifier on a race. We can put a category qualifier on a race. We can say it's a masters Cat 3 race. That means you must at least be a Cat 3 and at least whatever the master's age is, whether that's 30 plus, 40 plus, 50 plus, what have you. So elite and masters are 2 words that don't describe ability. They describe age, and that's it. So that's the second major factor when it comes to determining your category. The third and final factor is presenting gender. I say presenting gender because it's this day and age. In the cycling world, it's still binary. It's still male or female. You have to decide, and you have to present as one of the 2. However you present in your normal daily life, if it was just a binary society, that's the gender that you're going to use to determine what race that you enter into. We divide between men's races and women's races. That doesn't mean that you can't intermingle. And what I mean by that is a woman can race in a woman's category race if she qualifies because of her category and age to race in a particular women's field. She can also race in male races, or what we typically call male races. Women are allowed to compete in men's races up to 1 category below. Yeah, so a women's Cat 3 can race in a men's Cat 4 race. They can also qualify and race in masters categories where there's an age restriction up to 10 years they're senior. So a 40 plus woman can race in a 50 plus race. I know that sounds confusing. Don't worry about it too much. You're a Cat 5, remember. You're going to enter a Cat 5 race. So if you go back and look at your schedule here, we look at this and we say, so I'm a brand new racer. What races on this schedule can I race in? Well, you can race in this Category 5 race at the beginning of the day. That's whether you're a man or a woman, you can race in that field. If you are a woman, you can race, or if you are over the age of 30 and you are Category 5, you can also race in this race at 9:50. If you are a man or a woman who is a Category 3, 4, or 5, if you're a woman who's a Cat 3, or if you're a man who's a Cat 4 or 5, you can race in this one. If you're a woman Cat 5, you're probably going to enter this race here, which is the beginning women's race as a Category 4 and 5 race. So there's multiple opportunities for a Cat 5 to race depending on your gender and or age, in addition to your Category 5 status. So odds are, as a brand new racer, I would always recommend that you start with a straight up Cat 5 race in your basic presenting gender. So women, if you're a Cat 5, you need to come and race in your Cat 5 field. Men, race in your Cat 5 field. That's where you're probably going to get the most experience and be with riders who are similar to you in terms of experience level. So now that we have this information, we go to, so now I need to be there. My race will start at 8:30. My race length is going to be 30 minutes. You say, well, gee, that's not a length. That's a duration. Welcome to USA Cycling. That's how we do stuff. 30-minute race length means you're going to race for 30 minutes. That is the target. That is the goal. You're going to race on a closed circuit, and then after a few laps, the officials are going to determine how many laps will take your group out to that 30-minute race time, and then they will start counting laps from there. We'll get to a little bit of that when I get to pre-race instructions. But in essence, you're going to be on the course for 30 minutes. If you were to do the women's Cat 4-5, if you'll notice on our schedule, they also race for 30 minutes as well. So sometimes you want to look at the different possible fields that you can race in. Some of them may be too short for your taste, so maybe you want to race longer. You can choose a different race because of that. If maybe that race is too long and you don't feel like you can race for that amount of time, there may be other options that you qualify for that allow you to race for less time. So we've covered the basic flyer. The information's on there as to what category you can race in. There'll be a pre-registration fee and a day of fee. Pre-registration means that you are registering for the race before the actual day of the event. That doesn't mean that's the only way that you can register for the race, but it means that most likely you'll be offered a discount if you register before the race. As a promoter, let me tell you, please pre-register. That gives promoters an opportunity to have a better idea how many racers are actually going to show up, so that we have things like the right number of porta potties, the right amount of food, those kind of things. Big issues. In this day and age, with weather being such a huge factor, a lot of people are waiting till the last minute to go out to the race, which I understand, but because of that, there's usually a penalty to pay. You have to show up the day of the race, and you will pay an extra $10 or $15, whatever the promoter has decided. In this particular example, as you see, if you were to register for our Category 5 race in the morning, you will race for 30 minutes, and you will have a pre-registration fee of $25. That means it will cost you $25 to enter the race, as long as you register for the race before the end of pre-registration. If you race, you can also register on site the day of the race, but that will cost you $35. So an extra $10 if you wait and decide to sign up at the actual event itself. So that's the difference between pre-registration and registration on day of. Like I said, I highly recommend that everybody do pre-registration. There's almost always a discount, and for a lot of people, and $25 may not be a lot of money, to a promoter, it's a ton of money. So even if you decide not to race that day of, you're making a great donation to the actual race itself. So once you've made your decision on which race you're going to, and you've decided whether or not to pre-register or to register day of, the next major thing is obviously to find out where the location of the race is. If you notice here, there's a location listed out. It says 15538 Prairie Road, South Beloit, Illinois, 610. Okay, so that location, depending on the flyer, could be anywhere. That could be on the start-finish line. That could be a parking lot. That could be somewhere within 5 miles of the actual race itself. You kind of want to take some time and familiarize yourself with the race course, at least from a GPS viewpoint or like a mapping going to like Google Maps, what have you. But odds are that address that they give you is going to take you to the start-finish line of the race. That doesn't mean that's where you're going to be parking. So give yourself enough time to get to your race. You want to be at the race venue at least an hour in advance of your race. And if it's one of your first races, I would say at least an hour and a half before your first race. Unfortunately, because you're a Cat 5, that means you're going to be showing up really early, because most Category 5 races are held at the very beginning of the day. So give yourself enough time to travel. Get there an hour to an hour and a half before the race. Realize that the address that you're going to may not be where you're parking. So you go to that address, kind of get your lay of the land, figure out where the course is, and make sure that you park on the outside of the course. You don't want to park on the inside of the course, because if the roads aren't blocked off yet, you may not realize it, but the roads will be blocked off and you won't be able to get out for the end of the day, until the end of the day. So definitely don't do that unless you plan on staying for the entire day. If you plan on staying for the entire day, come by and say hi. So you've parked. Now the very first thing you do when you get out of the car, find out where registration is. That is the very first place that you need to go. The easiest way to do it is to find the very first individual rolling around on a bicycle that has a number on. That person has already been to registration. That person has already picked up a number. Ask them where registration is. Also, if you happen to see anybody by the name of Kenny LeBay, definitely ask him where registration is. He always knows and is extremely helpful in that situation. Another thing that you want to do then is pay attention to what side that rider had their number on. Around here in Illinois, we wear our numbers on our sides to wrapping onto our back. So it'll either be on the left side or on the right-hand side. That would be the rider's left or rider's right. Pay attention to what side that they have, because believe it or not, it does matter, and it's going to matter at the start of the race, and you don't want to be the person delaying the race because you got the wrong side. So just kind of make a mental note and then go on towards registration. When you're going to registration, remember, hopefully you have a racing license. As if we haven't made this too complicated already. You need to have a license that allows you to race. What that license does is it pays some of the insurance money to the organization, the sanctioning body, to allow, it doesn't go to the promoter, it goes to USA Cycling in this case, and it helps them provide for all of these systems that we have in place, for officials training, for insurance, for all sorts of things. So at a minimum, you need to have a license. It needs to be at least a one-day license. That can be purchased at the venue at the race. It can be purchased online at usacycling.org. Or have an annual license. An annual license means you pay one fee once. You can race as many times as you want through the rest of the year. If you're only going to ever race once, maybe a one day is a good idea. If really $60 to $70 isn't a huge thing for you, you want to give the sport a try, then you know what? Buy an annual license. If you only race once, then you've made a good donation to an Olympic sanctioning body, and that money will be put towards helping bring our athletes to better situations, like in future Olympics, giving them training facilities and transportation and all that kind of thing. So you have a license, you're heading towards registration. If you don't have your license already, you will have to fill out a license application at registration. That will either be a one for a one day or a different looking one for an annual license. They will say so which one is which on top. Pick the right form and fill it out to the best of your ability. Also, you will need to sign a waiver. If you pre-registered, at least here in Illinois, you're going to have a pre-filled waiver already with your name and all your information on it. All you're going to have to do is sign. But the way that you find that is you walk in and you say to the first person you see in registration, "Hi, I pre-registered, where should I go?" And they're going to tell you where to go, and somebody's going to help you. They're going to ask you what race you're in. Don't say, "I'm in the Spring Super Crit." Everyone's in the Spring Super Crit. You say, "I'm in the Category 5 race." That will help them find the right binder, that will find your waiver, and allow them to find your name quickly. If you already pre-bought your license, have your phone out and or paper license if you got a paper copy, showing them either on the USA Cycling app or in a paper license that you are authorized and able to race. If you didn't buy your license beforehand, remember, you just filled out your license application, have that in your hand, hand it to them at that time. If you didn't pre-register for the race, then in addition to any licensing that you have to fill out, you will have to fill out a one-day waiver for the event. That will be a stack of papers on a table with a lot of pens, same with the licensing paper. Fill that out, take all that up to whatever fine person has decided to volunteer their time and free time to help you get into your race. The information that you're giving them is what race you're going to be in, what category you're going to be in. You're going to give them the proper documentation. You're going to pay your fee if you haven't already paid it. If you've already pre-registered, then that's been taken care of. And then what you're going to receive in return is a number, a bib number. That's what we call them. That's what a number looks like. That's the numbers that we use here for USA Cycling. When you leave, you need to make sure that you have a number in hand. If you're racing multiple categories, you need to know which number is for which category. Most of us around here will write the actual category on the back of the number when they hand it to you. You're going to walk away with your number in hand, and you're going to want to know what other piece of information, what side your number goes on. If you don't remember from the person that you looked at before you leave registration, look at somebody in registration and say, "What side are numbers on?" And they will tell you left or right hand side. Easy to do. You can also walk by an official and ask an official what side numbers are on as well. So you got your number in hand, you're starting to walk away, grab some pens. Safety pens will be in a box somewhere in the registration area. Ask if you don't see them, but they'll be there. The minimum I would say is grab 4. If you're like me, you want to grab 8. And I'll show you why here in a minute. But you got your number, you got pens, you're walking away from registration. You've got what you need. The promoters have what they need. They have a signed waiver from you, and they have a proof that you have paid for authorization to race under a USA Cycling license. That's it. Basic stuff, seems like a lot of rigmarole, but that's what's needed before you can leave registration. Now that you've got your number, you now have a race to be at. Make sure you know what time your race is at, and make sure you know how much time you have left. If you have, hopefully by now you have adequate time, like an hour or so before your race. Here in Illinois, we cut off handing out numbers 30 minutes prior to your race. So if you have not picked your number by 30 minutes prior to your race, you're out. Sorry. Even if you already paid. You just made a donation to the cause, and thank you very much. And no, promoters aren't getting rich off of this, trust me. Most break even at best. So you've got your number, you're heading back to your car. What do you do first? It's different for everybody. What I would suggest for people to do is to get their bike out, to get their helmet on, and probably their shoes, and to get on the course and check out the course. Now, you can only do this if there's no racing going on in the course. But like I said, in this situation, if you're Cat 5, you're the first race of the day, so there shouldn't be any racing going on the course. If you have any doubt at all as to whether or not there's racing currently going on, go up to the start-finish line and ask the officials or somebody there and ask simply, is the course open? They might give you a snarky answer. They might make fun of you, what have you, okay? We're a weird bunch. But the basic fact is you did the right thing. You asked whether or not the course is open and whether or not it was safe for you to get on the course and check it out. So get on the course, check it out, go around, make note of any pavement issues that you might think might be an issue for you, make note of any technical features like a fast turn, a climb, what have you. You'll learn as you race more what's more important for you to look for at the beginning of the race. In general though, you don't want to all of a sudden realize that there's a left followed by a right-hand turn when you're on the first lap of your first race. You want to know what the course looks like before you actually toe the line. So now that you know what the course looks like and you go back to your car, first thing I would do is pin my number on. Now, you have to have your number on whatever outside piece of clothing you're going to be wearing. It has to be visible at all times. So if it's an early season race and it's cold, you're probably going to be wearing a jacket. You need to put your number on your jacket, not on your jersey. But if you are going to put it on your jersey, let me give you a quick demonstration on how to put it on. I've got a much better way of putting it on. I typically throw it over a car window and then pin it through the window. But this is the back of a jersey. All right, and unlike the pros, because we're not pros, we're amateurs, the number actually goes on the side of the jersey and not on the back of the jersey. Now, what I mean by that is, if we were pinning a left side number, this is the left side panel. So as a rider goes by, this is what everyone sees, including the officials. You're going to want to take the number, and probably the easiest thing to do is to line it up with the seam of the jersey on that side, and let it come over. Now, as you notice, we're going to block off this pocket here. That's fine. You're not really going to carry a lot of stuff with you when you're racing. Sorry. Then you take a safety pin and you take a stitch with the safety pin. Now, you don't use these little holes in the corner because that will allow your number to flap. It might make sense to use those holes. That's what runners do, and we make fun of runners. So the way that you do this is you take a stitch. You grab the material of the jersey, you grab a number, and then you pin it. You pin through the paper and the jersey, and then you come back up. Hook it in, and there you go. You've taken a stitch, now that number's not gonna flop around. You then continue the process, pinning in the four corners, and then what you're gonna notice sometimes is that it'll bubble up here, or bubble up here, or bubble up here as you're wearing the number. Simply add additional pins in those locations if you want. I have seen some amazing things where people use 400 pins to get their pinning job done. A lot of people will put one in the center, what have you. At least for the four corners, possibly the sides as well, if you wanted to look pretty professional on your first race. So that's pinning a number. You've got your number pinned on. Now you need to get to the start line before the start of your race. So start getting near the start-finish line, I'd say about 10 minutes before your race starts so that you're not caught on surprise. Most races will start on time. A lot of races really do pride themselves on that. If yours is running late, at least you will be there to know that information. Sure, warming up, if you've read about that online, that's cool and all, but this is your first crit. Just try to stay in the race, okay? Worry more about the actual mechanics of the race itself than your performance and how well you're gonna do. Walk into the race, I don't know, everyone's different, but for me, I would say walk into the race assuming that you're not going to finish it, let alone win it. And that's a safe assumption for most racers first time out. So you're standing near the start-finish line. Don't be past the start-finish line. but before the start finish line. And at some point, the officials, like around here, they will blow a whistle and say, call riders to the line. They'll blow a whistle, they'll call category 5 to the line. Our announcer on the stage will get on the mic and say, all category 5 racers to the start finish line, please. And that's your cue to go ahead and get on the road, on the course, and to roll up to where the official is standing. The official will then line everybody up. Around here, we'll have officials in the back that are checking your numbers. What they're looking for is they're looking to make sure that your number is legible, that it is right side up, because this is right side up. When you ride by, you can actually read this number. If you put it the other way around on your back, guess what? It's upside down when you go by, and no one can read that. And the officials are going to yell at you because they yell. Don't take it personally if you pinned it wrong. They will definitely tell you that you pinned it wrong, and if they're nice, they'll actually, fix it for you. If they're not nice, they'll tell you to get it fixed, or you're not starting the race, and somebody around you will actually fix it. Don't worry too much about it. If you have questions, ask an official when they're not busy before your race, if they can give you advice or if you're pinned on correctly. Or anybody else that's out there, it looks like an experienced racer, they should be able to help you. So they're checking your numbers in the back of it. At the same time, in the front, an official is going to be giving you instructions. Now, those instructions can be anything. They can be like, all right, ladies and gentlemen, you're racing for 30 minutes. That means that you're going to be out on course for 30 minutes. You're going to see the lap counter over here. Lap counter will be counting up in time, down in minutes. What does that mean? That means that that counter is going to tell you how many minutes have gone by in your race until they calculate how many laps you're going to do. Once they figured out how many laps you're going to do, they will start showing you laps to go. So instead of 12 minutes into the race, you might see four laps to go. So it will count down in minutes, up in time. So up in time until they figure out how many laps you're doing, down in laps until you're done with the race. If there is any kind of wheels in, wheels out, neutral pit, that means that there's an area somewhere along the course that is a neutral pit that you're allowed to put spare wheels into or take wheels out of in order to do flat changes or swaps. From there, then you have, they'll tell you when the pits close, because yes, you may not be able to enter the pits all the way up until the end of the race. They'll say, if the pits are closed, you're chasing. What that means is you can no longer get in to get a free lap. Free lap rules in play, what does that mean? Well, if it's a criterium, that means that you can go into the pits if you have a mechanical and you're not getting penalized. You will be sent back out in the same position that you were in the race, and it's just like you never left. It's like you were with them for the extra lap. So we call that a free lap. Free laps end with 5 to go. Well, after 5 to go, you won't get any more free laps. Probably the biggest thing to pay attention to is the duration of the race, 30 minutes in this case. And that's from when they start the whistle until they tell you it's the end. That end may be at 27 minutes, that end may be at 35 minutes. That's not your choice. That's up to the officials. They will ring a bell at some point during the race. That bell will be for your last lap. When you hear that bell, that doesn't mean you sprint to the finish right then. What it means is that the next time you come by the start-finish line will be the end of the race. So that bell is telling you you have 1 lap to go. The officials will usually, or somebody will end up yelling 1 to go or something like that. So you hear the bell, you've got 1 more lap to go, do it 1 more time around. If they said that there was any kind of preems, what's a preem? Well, a preem is a prize during the middle of the race. If somebody yells that there's a preem, that means that the next time around, the first person crossing the line will win that preem. In Cat 5, there usually isn't many preems, but be aware of it. And don't think it's the end of the race, and don't think that if you hear it, then you sprint to the line and you get it, because people do make those kind of mistakes. So you've gotten your instructions. They've given you all sorts of information. If you're like me, you lined up too far back and you couldn't hear a thing, it doesn't matter. The race is going to start anyway. So they're going to walk out of the way. They're going to say something like anytime in the next 30 seconds or anytime in the next 2 minutes. And what that means is that your race will start sometime within the next 30 seconds or 2 minutes or whatever they said. When they blow the whistle, you're on. Race is started. Riders in front of you are going to go. That's your cue to go. I don't care about what actually happens in the race. That's for you to worry about. In essence, hold your line going around turns, so keep the same distance all the way through the turn. Don't do that crap they teach you on the internet of trying to cut into the apex of the turn and cutting out. You do that, people are going to yell at you, and or you're probably going to cause a wreck. Just be decent, ride in the group, keep your position in that group, do what you can. If you are not of the physical fitness that you thought you were, and you get dropped out of the pack, that's called getting shelled, getting dropped, getting whatever. You're going to fall off the back of the group, and if it's a tight course, the officials may pull you. What that means is that they will remove you from the race. They won't physically remove you, but they'll tell you that you're done. So as you come up to the start-finish line around here, they may blow a whistle, they may do this, they may do this, they may give you some sort of a hand signal. Around here, it's usually like 2 blows of whistles, like a quick beep beep, and that means you're done. They say beep beep, you're done, that means you're done for the day. It means you're out of contention. This isn't triathlon, this isn't a marathon, this isn't a 15K. We don't care. If you're out of contention and you're not going to be one of the top 3 spots, then you no longer need to be out there. The reason for this is because you can get swallowed up by the field as they're sprinting. And you could be so tired you could end up in the way, causing an accident, whatever. The officials make the decisions that they make. If they've made the decision to eliminate you or to pull you from the race, you have to respect their opinion. I don't care if you paid the money. I don't care if you only got to race for 3 laps and you think you totally got gypped. Guess what? Get faster, come back again. If you got pulled from the race, you're pulled from the race. You need to do what the officials say, and you need to remove yourself from the course at your earliest convenience. So you pass the start-finish line. If it's safe, pull over, pull off the course. You're done for the day. If you've decided to pull yourself out for some reason, if you got dropped and you're just like, you know what, I don't want to finish this, so you pulled off the course, but it wasn't near the start-finish line, please do everyone a favor, go to the start-finish line, tell your officials that you are no longer in the race, and show them your bib number so that they know what the bib number is now no longer in the race. They can score you appropriately and place you where you need to be. If you get pulled, you're going to still be placed in the results, odds are. So don't worry about it too much. Chalk it up as a learning experience and go on. But by all means, do what the officials tell you to do. So that's the race. That's the start of the race. That's how the race finishes with the bell, giving you 1 lap to go. After that, get off the course because there's going to be another race queuing up right behind it, and there's going to be other racers that are going to want to get a preview of the course. So you see how this cycle repeats itself and goes on and on and on. You're going to probably know by the end of the first race whether or not this was for you, and you're going to either fall in love with the sport and never ever want to